Hello and welcome to this particular video. In this particular video, we'll be looking at CSS Grid, and I have about 7 images here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I give them different classes, which as we proceed, you get to see the reason why I decided to give them different classes. Then I also have a class that tends to wrap everything. That's from line 23 down to line 33. So I actually gave that particular div a class called then. You can call it whatsoever you want to call it. Alright, the first thing we'll do will be to check how it appears on the browser. So look at how our images are, and if you follow through this course, you actually know what to do at this point in time. So the first thing we can do will be to give the images some sort of measurement. Alright, so in this case I will say img. I will give it a width for now, maybe a width of 300 pixel, and then the height I can give it 200 pixel. Alright, let's see what we have, whether the images have actually been resized to the same width and height. Yes, that is what we have there, all of them carrying the same width and height. Alright, let's leave it at that point for now. Alright, then for us to do the grid system, because the CSS grid also help us achieve a responsive layout. I made mention of responsiveness. Responsiveness has to do with how your website appears across various devices, from mobile phones to iPad, tablet, laptop, and larger screen. How does your website appear? Do they appear the same way, well arranged, or in a situation whereby it is very fine using your laptop, but when once you check it out from your phone, you discover that it is not actually fine? And one might be wondering, how can I check that? Yes, this is how you can check that. You right click, you can do Ctrl+Shift+I, or you right click, you click on inspect, and then on the inspect you wait for it to load up, and after that you select the various devices you want to check. Alright, it's up here, so you can click here to have access to various devices. Then if you are using Chrome, there is a drop down here. So this is how our website will appear on iPhone SE, and you find out that the contact us has actually come down, which is not how it was with the bigger screen. So we will actually resolve that. Then let's see how it appears on an iPad. It's a bit better on an iPad. Alright, let's get straight to the flex. We are definitely going to come back to check things out from here. How do we apply flex? Since I have a class that covers everything called then, I can just go to my CSS and then say .then. This is how we style a class, and just like we did for the flex, I will say display grid. Display grid. Now let's see what we have. Refresh. If you can recall, the flex, the images appeared horizontally, but in the grid by default it is vertically. Alright, so let's begin to play around with it. The first thing we can apply, which is a very important property we can apply using grid, is what we call the grid template column. The grid template columns. This one tends to specify how many columns do you want your articles, your write-up, or your images to appear. So in this case, if I say 300 pixels space 300 pixels space 300 pixels, that means I want all the images to occupy a space of 300 pixels with 3 columns. Let's see whether we have actually achieved that. I refresh. Okay, you see 1, 2, 3. Then another thing we should actually add can be something like the gap, because there is no gap between the images. So you can say grid, you can just say gap, and then let's give it something like 10 pixel, and then let's refresh and see what we have. You see we have a gap in between each of them now, And now let me do Ctrl Shift I to see how this appears on other devices. Take note for now, our challenge is with the images. You see, I have to scroll. This is not responsive because this is not how it appears on the laptop. You see, we have a space here because of this image spanning down here. That is not actually nice. So that is not a very good property to use. Then we can actually replace this 300 pixels. Let me just be copying it and be pasting. I will be commenting it. Okay, let me just comment it out, then copy paste, because I want you guys to have access to almost all of them. All right, so I don't want to use that particular one again, so since it is not that responsive. All right, so let me try another one. We can have something like we can use percentages. You know, let's say I use 25%, give it 25%, 25% again. Up to 4 places. Let's see what we have. I will refresh, and then you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 column. Now let's see how it appears on the mobile device. You see, it is still not that responsive. All right, then I can do something like, let me change this width to 100%, and then so that the space they are occupying with 100%, and then let's just refresh and see whether we have any change. Okay, you see that is a bit responsive now, but we still have to scroll and we don't want that. I think I can do something like let me reduce this to just 2 columns. Let's try 2 columns. See, we have 45%, 45%, 45 plus 45 is 90%. So let me do away with this gap, and then okay, I can actually bring that gap. Let's give that gap 10%. 10%. My target is to have some sort of a layout that I don't have to scroll irrespective of the screen. I'll refresh. Let's see what we have. You see, in this case, I don't scroll. This one is very, very responsive. I don't have to scroll across various devices. Let's see what we have on the, like I said, avoid this contact us for now, because we are going to use another technology to make sure it is responsive. Focus on these images for now. You see, I don't have to scroll irrespective of the device I'm using. Let's see how it appears on Samsung. So there is no scrolling. All right, this is actually one of the methods to achieving a responsive site, but we still have other ones. So let me comment this out and then give us another one we can actually use to achieve what we want. All right, let me remove this value for now. Then let me press so that I can do another grid template column. Another grid template column we can actually use has to do with what we call the FR. The FR stands for fraction. Let me delete this. The FR stands for fraction. We can just say something like 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, 3 columns. Now let's see how that appears. I'll refresh. You see, we have 1, 2, 3, and also to some extent it's responsive because I don't have to scroll it. Let's see how it appears on iPhone mini. Still 1, 2, 3, no scrolling no matter how I try. Now the question is, this 1 FR, 1 FR, what does it stand for? If you look at it, it stands for fraction. The fraction of the screen this one is taking is the same with this one, is the same with this one. That's why we say 1, 1, 1. So assuming I actually change maybe this last one to 2 FR, what do you think will happen if I should change that to 2 FR? What do you think will actually happen at that point? You are correct. This last column will tend to take double the space of the first two. Let's refresh and see. So you see this particular picture and this particular picture, the space they are occupying is times 2 of what these ones are current, or let's say adding this one together equals this particular one. And you see across various screen sizes we tend to have a responsive layout. So that is it for that particular one. Alright, so let's see how it appears on a bigger or a wider screen. So you see from here down to this point, let me add a very small gap of maybe 2 pixels. Let's see what we have. I don't need much, so I'll refresh. So you see there is a space here. From here to here is times 2 of these two. So depending on how you want to arrange your column in order to achieve a responsive site. Then we still have other ones I would love to introduce you to, so that you can choose the one you want depending on how it fits your work. Alright, so in this case I want to show us another one that looks a bit like mathematics. This one has to do with what we call the repeat function. We use the repeat function to achieve it. You just say repeat, and then you put maybe let's say 3, 1 if r. What this means is that it should give us this the same thing we had, the 1 fr, 1 fr, 1 fr. Although we have changed this to 2 fr. So this one means give us 1 fr in 3 places. So let's see what we have. Give us one fraction in 3 places. You see, we have 1, 2, 3. The same fraction. Then this might not be that responsive. Let's check on other devices. Okay, we don't really have to scroll much. Alright, then I will still have to show you other ones. Like I said, you get to choose the one you want to use at a particular point in time. Alright, so let me comment this out and show you another grid template column. They're actually much, and I will show you as much as I can. Alright, so another one I want to show you still uses the repeat function, but in this particular one you find out that irrespective of the size of our screen, if I say it should be 3 places, it's just 3 places. So is there any way we can make it to be like the flex wrapping, which as we move our screen, reduce it, or as the screen increases, the guy will know what to do? Alright, we can use something like the auto fill for this particular one that I want to do. Auto fill, auto hyphen fill, then comma, no, should be within the comma, let's say 300 pixels. Let's see what we have. Alright, you see this one gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. For the wider screen, let's see what we have when we actually check out a much smaller screen. So you see, automatically it reduces this to 1 this thing, and there is some element of scrolling which is not that responsive. But let me show you what this guy is doing. Assuming I reduce this screen manually, as I'm reducing it, it tries to resize the pictures based on the screen size we are using. This is the same thing the flex wrap property does, but in as much as it is doing it, it is not that responsive. So how can we make that responsive? Alright, let's check that out. So let me comment this out and then show us another one. Alright, I will space again, and then in this case we have what we call, let me delete this and also comment it from here. We have what we call the repeat function again. Repeat, and in this repeat function it is still autofill, and then we have the minimum and the maximum, the min max. Then we can give it something like maybe 200 pixel, comma 1 if r. And one might be wondering, what does this mean? Alright, let's check out how that appears on the browser first. Now you see there is no element of scrolling. Let's also check on the smaller screen. There is no scrolling. Personally, I like using this a lot. It is one of the best. So now this one says depending on the size of the screen, resize it, and it is fully responsive. So as we reduced it, we found out that the guy knows what to do. Unlike the other one that was fixed, even when we reduce the size of the screen, it is still 1 or 2, or as the case may be. So I will encourage you a lot to use this one in most of your projects. Can add something like to our CSS. Let's say we have something like maybe justify content, because I don't really like the way it is. Add the center. You can actually try that out on your own, like we did in our previous videos. Alright, so what can we actually add to make our website finer? I would love to add a border radius to both images and this li tag. Alright, so I can come to this L and say border radius. Maybe let's give it like 20 pixels. Now watch what is going to happen to each of the pictures. I'll refresh. Find out that this border radius has changed. So you see how the border is. So I want to apply the same thing to this our li, so that it will be a bit finer. So at this point I can come here to the li and then say border radius 2. Border radius, maybe I can just give it like 2 pixels. You save and check what you have, and if you are not satisfied, you keep on editing it. Refresh. Okay, you see it has changed a little bit. Let me increase it to maybe 7 pixels so that it will be visible. Save your work and don't forget to refresh. So you see the border radius has actually changed. So that is it for the grid and the border radius section of this particular video. So this is your project for today, and make sure you post it on the community. Show us the code displaying all the various flex not flex grid template column you have actually applied, and then snap this particular section of your code and send it to our community so that your assessment can actually be carried out. Thank you very much for watching this particular video. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye bye.